There's a problem in Nigeria everybody knows about. Every single person complains about it and nobody seems to want to fix it. And I'm starting to think that's not an accident. I want to be clear about something. This video is not a rant and I'm not here to complain for 10 minutes about bad service. What I want to do is ask a question that I think is worth sitting with, because once you see it, you start noticing it everywhere. Just last week, I decided to get the MTN Fiber X, and instead of going to their physical store, I did what any reasonable person would do in 2026. I went to their official e-store. The process felt straightforward. I selected a plan, picked a date and time for installation. Everything went smooth. I paid. Confirmation came in almost immediately. Great. Job done. Except it wasn't done. Days passed, no FN number. That's the reference number an engineer would use to come and do the physical installation in your house. So no engineer, no follow-up, nothing. Just the confirmation sitting in my inbox and no internet in my house. This happened right after I was told to pick a date and a slot on the eShop, and no one showed up. So I went to the MTN office to actually get this sorted out, and the person that attended to me was helpful enough. But then they told me something that stopped me. They said, if I have friends that want to get the MTN Fiber X, I should tell them to not use the eShop. I want you to think about what just happened there. I walked into MTN, spoke to a staff member, and they told me not to use MTN's own platform, their official website, the site that they built. And the advice I got from inside was to go around it. I posted about this as a shorts on the channel and on Instagram, and the comments already told me everything I needed to know. A good number of you had the same experience. Others waited 48 hours and eventually it got resolved. Others are still waiting, but every single person who got it resolved seemed to be saying the same thing: use an agent. Now, let's zoom out for a bit. If this was just an MTN problem, I'll make a video about MTN and move on, but it's not just MTN. Think about how many times you've encountered the exact same dynamic. The system exists, the official platform exists, but the official process is so unreliable that people stop trusting it. And in the gap between what the system actually promises and what it delivers in reality, something else grows. Think about Nigerian banks. How many times have you had a transaction failed, called customer service, and waited 30 minutes to even speak to someone, but that problem doesn't get resolved? But if you know somebody in the bank, a friend, contact, somebody, that problem gets sorted in less than an hour. You probably never experienced something like this, similar, but I'm willing to bet you've actually experienced something close to it. The official process exists, but the unofficial one works better. Think about government services, passport applications, driver's license renewal. An official timeline and process exists, but anyone who has been through any of this process knows that what the timeline says on paper and what they actually deliver are two completely different things. But in that gap, what fills that up? People, agents. People who know how to navigate the systems in ways an average person can't. Thinking about this now, I had to wait over a year for my driver's license to be renewed. The way I see it is like a pattern. The software and the platform exists, but when you need it to work, they don't. And people have built workarounds and alternatives around that, and over time, these alternatives have become the trusted source than the original system. Now, let's talk about who these agents are. A number of people are saying the same thing in the comments: use an agent. And the question I had was probably the one you're thinking right now. Who are these agents? Are they MTN staff? Are they officially affiliated with MTN? Nobody seems to know exactly, but what people did know is that these agents will actually get your problem resolved. They had contacts that not the average person would have, and from what I've heard, they don't charge you more than what you'd originally pay for the installation. Now, think about something that happens every day: flight bookings. You can go to any website and book a flight yourself. It's not complicated, but there are people who have built entire businesses around booking a flight for others. And here's the interesting thing: this isn't about international flights. Even with local flights, a lot of people are uncomfortable booking directly through their airline's website, because there's always this fear. You pay and something goes wrong. Your money just hangs, like we say in this part of the world. But that fear didn't just span out of the blue. It came from experience, constant experience from systems that look like they work, but they just didn't. In all of these examples, there's one thing I want you to notice. None of these people, the MTN agents, the flight bookers, none of them created the problems they're solving. The problem already existed because of a broken system that was already there. They just saw a gap, decided to occupy it, and I don't blame them. They're doing their business. But here's the question that follows up from that. If the gap is being filled and workarounds exist and people are using it, then what motivation does anyone have to actually fix the original system? I want to be careful here because I'm not saying there's a conspiracy. I'm also not saying there are MTN executives sitting in a boardroom deliberating whether to keep their e-shop broken so that agents can thrive. No, that's not the case. But I do think there's something structural happening that makes fixing the system less urgent than it should be. When a broken system generates its own workaround, the pressure to fix it drops. The complaints don't stop, but they become manageable, and people who can navigate the system do. People who can't suffer in silence or get somebody to help them. And the company, the institution, the government body, they can point to the fact that people are getting served. Maybe not through the official channel, maybe not effective, but served. And in that environment, the original system becomes a low priority because fixing it costs money, time, and organizational will. But the unofficial process is absorbing enough of the pressure that it doesn't quite build enough to warrant any urgent change. Meanwhile, the agents keep working, and everybody who pays an agent to do something they can essentially do for themselves is actually just subsidizing a broken system. If you think about it, if you've ever paid an agent to do something, you're actually not just paying for internet, you're paying to actually keep that system working. I think about my own situation. The rational thing to do would be to participate in the exact same thing and criticizing. But the alternative would be to wait for an official process, which has shown me it doesn't work. I think a lot of Nigerians are living in this trap every single day without quite having the language for it. So, in conclusion, the broken system nobody wants to fix isn't broken because nobody knows how to fix it. It's broken because fixing it will require disrupting something that already works for someone. The agents, the people who have built livelihoods around the gap, they need the gap to exist. And institutions have studied and learned that this gap exists to absorb enough pressure so that things can stay stable. What changes? Honestly, I think accountability. Not just complaints on social media, not just videos like this, but real structural accountability. Regulatory pressures, consumer protection enforcement, the kind of consequences that will make it more expensive to leave the system broken than to fix it. Nigeria has a customer protection system. Most people don't know it exists, and these companies know that most people don't know it exists. And that information asymmetry is part of how this broken system sustains itself. So the next time you're told to use an agent, pause and ask yourself, why does this agent exist? If you have the energy, file a complaint, not because it will change anything, but because the alternative is silence, and silence is what the broken system feeds on. If you've lived through a different version of this story, different company, same experience, drop it in the comments. I'll be sure to read every single one of them. Yeah, my own situation with MTN is still unfolding, and there's actually more story behind it. Thanks for watching. I'm XV2XL, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.